some more minutes.
Bringing them together, for example, also the difficulty for them to come together to conceptualize the projects.
Exactly.
Very
So it's supposed to be a blended course also, only in IR. But the blended idea is that they use the videos to really enjoy, right?
You could do that in another city. No problem. You're discussing too much. You should cut that group out. You're discussing too much. We do some of the issues, right? I think that there are areas that if it's soft, you can use videos to project. But if it's something
The key reasons why we should go for blended learning, and have a look, and please feel free to add if you think there's any other strong reasons.
Versus the learning in the sense that the recaps from the online part can help to get key messages to apply. The networking part is, compared to only online, is also a benefit from this blended learning. And we think that maybe it might give reducing the time to half of the time, might bring opportunity for some key stakeholders that will not take 4 days out of their agenda to attend, and that is also maybe a benefit.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Anything that you think is missing that we can add beside what has been mentioned, which can be good reasons for blended learning? Beyond this, anything else? Can anybody add? Has not been mentioned? I want to start with, I think what we can add there is not only opportunity to attend for key stakeholders, you also have the opportunity to involve very busy people as trainer.
Okay.
Very famous professors or whatever who would not have the time to train for 3 or 4 days, but you can just shoot their videos and you can have them as part of the trainings. And that's an added value also, that your trainings have very key people there. Farah, you have something?
I see, like, you can go back and forth with
Yeah.
that kind of a learning, but in a class it's like, it's just half
Just
an hour.
one and that's it.
Yeah. But you can listen to the videos, you can go back and
You
forth.
can go back, yeah. So going back and forth, that's also something which is, so it's, yeah,
You said longer time.
institutions. And when you do this, it's actually easier to standardize the trainings when the satellite institutions are doing it, because at least the core component is standardized. And then the face-to-face, they have some room for customization, for adaptation, to that the quality is more or less okay. I mean, across the satellite institutions without you having to be doing it all the time. So that's also another thing that I think is important to bring up from an RTC viewpoint. Anything else?
I think this has two components, like one you say is quality.
Uh-huh.
The other one is those that do not have the capacity to do. They are like hesitating to do an IR or a GHRP because they say, I don't have facilitators who will be able to do this training. But if you have it online up and running, they don't have to worry about it. And for their face-to-face, maybe they can hire 2 experts who could just come in, fly in 2 days and be beneficial in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, it promotes collaborations with other training centers, other institutions through these online platforms. Anything else which you think are important and not yet there? I mean, another interesting point, I think, is that increasingly this is the way to learn for today's generations, and this millennial generation, whatever they call it these days. I mean, they learn blended anyway. So it's the natural mode for them to learn more and more. So it's something which increasingly becoming natural for the today's and more for the next generation. So that's some.
How to say it? Just for
You
writing
say
it.
targets the millennial generation.
Yeah.
I think that is like the kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
I think it also takes away some redundancy in learning.
Yeah.
Getting different learning
Mm. Learning out. Anything else? And one last thing, perhaps also for me, it allows the trainers to focus on more essentials, interactive parts of the training, while many of the parts which can be done self-directed, all that can be done through the online platform. But then you focus your energy and time to the really needed, where you really need facilitations. Okay. And it's a beautiful handwriting, Maria. After 3 days of no writing. Okay, let's give an applause to group 1. Thank you very much. Let's go to the next group.
Discussed about the challenge we think that it will arise when we do blended learning. The first is structure does not allow enough connection between the theory and the practice. It means that when we learn from the two connected with the practice here in the practice activity here, and difficulty in bringing participants, it's either the online and the face-to-face. Means that in the one team they are like separate divisions, separate department, that they have different project maybe. An unclear example, it's in the online session. Recall challenges that we have faced for these 4 days, and internet connection in some areas.
Okay.
This is the recall.
Recall
Yeah.
check.
Recall challenge means that we are all need like open the video again to be able to review it again here.
Yeah, going back and forth like what Farah mentioned. Okay. Okay, anything else to add? Here actually you can go broader, not just for this particular blended learning IR GHRP, but we were thinking that any RTC, any blended learning that you want to adopt, be it GCP, be it GCLP, GHRP, EPPE, what are the challenges in general? If you want to open up, you want to add something? Language, okay. Yeah, for example, if you load it in Latin America, you want it in Espanol. In Tunisia, either Arabic or French. In Kazakh, they will want in Russian. So, okay. What else would be a challenge?
The commitment will be also the challenge because they have to do online and also offline. So
Commitment. From the yeah, it requires longer commitment between the participant and also the institution, right? Because it takes longer also. It's not just 4 days, but then you spread it maybe to a couple of months. That means you need commitment for that couple of months. What else? Yeah.
So in our group, we were having a discussion that If it significantly reduces the time for the face-to-face, then it makes sense. But if it's a 3-day workshop and it gets reduced to 2 days, there's no difference. So it really has to show an impact. Otherwise, the cost will not significantly reduce.
You have difficulty to phrase that. Me too. Somebody put it in one sentence. The reduction of this that we can put for those offline. The challenge substantially.
Reduction of face-to-face training should be significant.
Significant. Yeah. Yeah. If it's just 1 day less, then it's not so much. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. What else? Yeah, Flanker.
Although we've said something about internet connectivity, I think that you must be ICT literate to be able to do this. Yeah.
Some basic ICT skill that people have to be able to take part in this. Huh? So that's something need to be thought of. Okay. Yep.
In contrast to the first, I think it's difficult to get the buy-in of the older generation because they're used to
to reach the older generations.
Yeah.
Vara is okay. She's doing online. Philippine artist, yeah.
What a challenge that we saw in this group is that one of them was in an island with no internet connection and couldn't complete the course.
Okay.
So
Yeah, there was internet connectivity. Yeah, on the other side. Okay. What else? From the RTC side, what do you think?
I think from the RTC side, I'm looking at the energies and the time that the RTC needs to put in place to make sure that everything is up to the standard. It can be a lot of work because for trainings, a lot of the times, some of the things you learn as you go along. But this needs a setup that you cannot go wrong. You just need to make sure that everything is up to scratch at that end. Yeah.
So you mean there are resource implication for the RTC, okay? Yeah.
It's also a question. So who's going to do the IT support of all this? Okay.
but that's yeah. So so the ICT capacity, that's the issue, right? ICT capacity. That's already, yeah. Literacy is from the participant side, but she means from the RTC side, more of who's going to manage it from the IT part. Okay. Yeah.
Another challenge in the RTCs is how we will put this in the annual planning. Like how will we keep doing our workshops, 3 days workshop for both GHRP and IR for Tunisia, for example, and with the online, because it will be redundant. I don't know if we should do this or this. So this is the big question.
Okay. So it's about...
I think I also clarified that it's for the purpose of this pilot that we combined. In reality, it will be one or the other.
No.
What is that?
No, they have a package that they
like
do
for
anyway.
example, for example, in Tunisia, each year we have GHRP workshop and IR workshop. And how we will put this in, like, we will forget about our workshop and instead we will do this, or we will do both because it will be the same content?
Yeah, that's a decision the
I don't
RTC
know, yeah.
would have
so
to make.
now, because we are going back and we should discuss this with our supervisor, so what's how you will see this integration?
Yeah. That's what we will discuss in the next session, more about moving forward the action plan. Okay. But that is indeed a decision which has to be weighted. You cannot make the decision now. You have to go back, go home, discuss with the people there. After taking all of this into considerations, how are you going to go about it? Are you going to replace it? Are you going to put on top of it? Are you going to combine it? Yeah. Okay. What else? No? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
online thing is, you really don't know who your participants are. You will really feel blank from the other end of the table because you have not seen them. When you see here, you get the reaction. How are they feeling? How are they doing? How are they progressing? You can just judge what they are feeling through, but you will never get a feel of actually what they are going through
during the online
I think that's one of the biggest challenges when you run the online phase. You don't know the person. You don't know where the emails are going. How are they feeling about the emails? You know, that kind of
invisible participants.
And
yeah. Okay.
I just not sure if when we said about the where was that? No, the first one.
Language barrier.
Okay. Oh no. When we were saying that there is difficulties for the integration between participants, we were talking about the IR specifically, because we were discussing this morning that for IR, since we want to have some teams and maybe in the online phase we want to advance a little bit more about the question and about the objectives. So in the online phase is gonna be a challenge also because we want not only the two researchers working together, but also maybe the implementers or something. So how can we address that problem that even in the online phase, to work or to start working in the project, it will be a challenge also. So
okay. So is that reflected on number 2?
Yeah. I just wanted to elaborate more about that.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Now, if not, If not, okay. If not, what we would like you to do now is go back to your country team and taking this into account, what are the things you think you need for your RTC to move forward with this? You know the challenge now. No, I mean together, collectively. What do we need to do together, not us providing? What facilities can we request to need from TDR or us collectively, anything, because this is something which we want to move forward with, right? So just go back to your country and discuss for 5 minutes 3 things which you need to move forward, okay? And then we come together. So go back and we'll discuss on the tables.
To identify areas that they will need recap for. I appreciate the approach, but just for time, I would say that I don't think, even if they don't put it there, it means that they really did not think through it at that point in time. But when they get here with IR, there would be areas that you need to focus on. So I would suggest that if you can make some time for that,
that's also what we this is still in discussion, that we see how it goes with the participant. We identify which concept is lacking from the participant, and that's what we try to recap. So it's really depends on our assessment with the dynamics of the processes. Yes. We allocate this here. It's just that how and what to do, it depends. It's tailor-made. Yeah.
I'm still thinking that it would be nice. I mean, I understand the different perspectives about the recap, but I wanted to highlight that, for example, for me, it will need. Not necessarily a recap of the chapters, but yeah, I think it's important, like 3 minutes, like now we are going to be concentrated in this, and this, and like that key things that at the end of the videos you said, I think is important. And I was thinking, okay, if I have that, and we are doing the exercise, and we also have the handouts, so it would be good. But still, I think it has to be clear, not only for the facilitator, but also for the teams. Yeah. Like, these are the key things that we are going to...
And also that what we think, you mentioned about how to bridge between online and offline. You mentioned about the key things or summaries. We may, before participant comes, we also give those handouts. Distributed to them, that this is the key points in the IR, the summaries, and then they can refresh and also bring it to the face-to-face.
think what Machi is saying is like just a 3-minute kind of, like when you're giving the instructions for the exercise, open it up by saying, recall that these are the key messages from this particular session, and this is what we are now going to apply to this particular session. And then you give the instructions. Maybe we can also include a set of slides for the facilitator that has these key messages summarized and introduces the exercise. Not too long, just 3-4 minutes time, and then let them go.
I also agree with that.
Yes.
Because sometimes I felt, for example, yesterday that we had a lot of teamwork, I felt like even though we have a really nice backup, and feedback, I feel like all the time was like just working the two of us, and I was needing like something like, okay, now, I don't know.
Sure. Any other thought? No? Indonesia? Philippines?
Two things. I think I'm thinking if the handouts are already there when we recap, that would be helpful. Also in the discussion, if, for example, because we've already taken the online course, if the participants could just be instructed that they need to keep notes of what they want to discuss. So I actually did, but I left the notebook that I'm supposed to bring here.
Okay.
Yes, so I thought it would be so helpful if I had my notes going here. It would also help if, like, for example, for ethical issues or study management, there would also be, I'm actually suggesting like additional possible ancillaries for the agenda. So not necessarily edits to the agenda. We could add instructions of the documents that we need to bring for the certain activities. That would be helpful.
Okay. Thank you very much for this. I think it's what, Okay. Today's doable, you think?
If everything is ready, like discussion points, the materials that you need, I think 2 days is doable. Yeah.
And I think this question goes to the facilitators. How do we estimate the energies and the times that will go into having the groups get a clear definition of their problems before coming in? I think that is also key for us to consider, because we will be building on that. We say this is doable, but it has to be based on what has been done previously.
I think what Dorothy mentioned, that we can, for those online exercise up to the problem statement and research questions, if we can make it right during online exercise, then I think the rest will be much easier.
Though it's 15 participants, it's going to be only 5 projects, right? So then it becomes, I think, kind of doable. Not too much, but only that initial stage as you had suggested.
But I think it also depends on how talkative the participants are. Yeah, to be honest, it really affects the time that you allot to the course.
So these are also the kind of facilitation skills. This is like, it's so difficult to actually teach, but it's also something that comes by practice. It's an art, and you will pick up. And sometimes we see some groups are too talkative, then we say, okay, let's have a ground rule that we have time limits, and then we need to respect time. Don't have to point out to them to say you're talking too much, but just go back to that's why we have these ground rules, to say we need to stick to time, we need to have equal participation, we need to have active participation so this is something you will build in course of time. And if you can have one of your facilitators who has those kind of skills, who can, handle that, will be very good. Not every.
I was thinking that I'm still a little bit concerned about how are we going to achieve the state of the project in the, in the online phase. We want the groups come with kind of a better objective and a better research question. But I'm concerned about how are we going to reach that, especially when we are working IR. Because, I know, for example, what usually happens in these kind of workshops, at least in Colombia, is that either the project is already running, yes. And sometimes, it's just, or there is not a project at all, and it's just an example, and it's even challenger. But for IR, I'm not sure if it's gonna be easy to achieve, like, a multidisciplinary team with the same project, and like to have all of them in the same, the 3 members of the team in the same page. I'm not sure how, because it's not easy to, I don't know, for example, in our experience, what happened is that it's our research, mm-hmm. And then for example, they implement, we don't have a lot of experience, but in other courses, in EPPE or something, the others from other institutions kind of join my team. So they don't feel like it's their project, and so we need to think about that.
True. And frankly, we still trying to figure out that how to have these 3 individuals to work on together and have those exercises put together. Any?
What I'm thinking of, like, as the question is coming, is that, so understanding the concepts is one thing, mm-hmm. And coming with a team project is another.
True.
Yeah. Usually coming with a team project, you need a lead, somebody who takes the lead. Can take the lead and circulate ideas amongst them and then finalize it. But remember that the learning processes are individual. As I go through the modules, as I go through the classrooms, I am learning the concepts for myself. It's a different thing when we transition it into having a proposal, a topic that works for the team and all that. I think the work needs to be in how we synchronize the two. Yeah. The individual learning with the peer assessments, the things that are supposed to be brought together.
We really have to learn. We are also still in our infancy with this thing. No one solution. It's nice if they form a group already and then, okay, they decide, okay, let's apply together to this course, but let's do this. That's much easier. But if you're the only one and then you're trying to mobilize, then you're going to be having some challenges. So 2 is a team for me. So if you can have just 2 people also, then that's good enough. 3 is still good enough. Anything more than that can kind of get very disruptive. So
I think it depends on the RTC, because in Tunisia, for example, we've been doing this for 2 years. Only people with proposal come to the workshop for both GHRP and IR course. And the EMRO region helps us for the call, and we select our participants according to this criteria. So it depends, I think.
I think for only offline it works. We also have the same, yes, but because it's the blended, there's on the online component, we first think only the learning component, the knowledge part, but now it's also we want to add up the skills part of it. That's something that we haven't really figured out how to make those themes work together and put those in practice. Any other thoughts? So otherwise, it's already, yes, it's already lunch. So 1 hour lunch, and then we come back here for Diljit and Dorothy. How can we discuss on those support and back-end support with these things. Thank you very much and have a good lunch.
No stress, no exercise, no nothing for you from now on.
Muchachita con su cuadro da la vuelta y toca el piso, alza la falda entre los chicos con su peinado y maquillaje. Se lo hizo en el salón, su vestido de ladrón. Ajá. Ay, nena, no te compares, que tiene un cuerpo que ya tú sabes, que tumba esquina, que tumba calle, que todo el mundo te dice, mami. Cosa más rica, cosa más buena. Como te gusta la rumba, como te gusta el pepe. Cuando llegue a tu calle, yo sí me muevo los pies.
Facilitation of the course actually means. So we'll just share with you our experience of how we do it. And then if you have questions, etc., we could show you some of that. So like we already earlier shared, essentially IPH does e-learning courses already, and we have 3 courses that already run. That is one in health financing, one in scientific writing, one in public health management. Then we did the face-to-face of GHRP and face-to-face of IR. And that's when this idea of having some online component, because of our experience with how it works online and how students learn, was there. So we developed the first GHRP with a blended component that was online. So it was not the entire course yet, but we did 2 modules online, and then we had the rest face-to-face. From the student feedback, what we understood was that they really found it very useful. It was at their pace, it was flexible. Some of the initial concepts were clear, so they all came at on the same page and on the same level. And from there, then to build on was easier. So that's when we thought we would expand this further into a complete online and run this back home as an online course. But then we realized that skill application is difficult, so that's where the blended comes in. So we see how you apply that into a proposal finally. So that was the idea of how this thing took shape, and that's what we have piloted with you. Of course, and then going forward, in a typical e-learning course, there is a lot of emphasis on learning activities, learning tasks, to make the whole learning experience good and enable those kind of key concept learning. So a lot more thought, I think, goes into an e-learning course than into a face-to-face facilitation, because we really think through how we are going to achieve the objectives or the outcomes, and then plan the entire online course, including activities that are very specific to achieve some of the objectives and outcomes. So, of course, that entire process has not yet been done, and we need to put more thought into what kind of activities we can build in to make the learning more, and also to be able to do assessment. So assessment is again something that's not been part of this course, but we have this built into most of the other courses, where we know then that those key concepts have been achieved, and we are certain that they have been achieved. So that is something that we will look at in this one also. So having said that, I'll hand it to Diljit now, who will talk you through how we manage the course. So we'll talk about this particular course, how we manage it back home in India, which includes enrolling students. Then after you enroll them, how do you get them oriented to the online platform? And then how do you facilitate some of the discussion forums, activities? Who does the grading of the assignments? How do we follow them up and make sure that they stay on track? How do you motivate them if they are not on track? And then how do you help them through the assessments towards the end? So it's an entire process of engagement with the students. So that he'll talk you through. How we do it in terms of roles is that we have two main roles at home. It is basically what we call a student administrator who handles a lot of the administrative processes, and we have a facilitator, online facilitator. And of course then you have the subject matter expert. So the subject matter expert is not on a day-to-day basis engaging with the students, although they have the option to do that. It is mainly the online facilitator and the student admin who really know who the students are and keep in touch with them on a weekly basis. So exactly how they do that and what the process is, that Diljit will talk you through.
I think she has given a great introduction per se. So, I mean, when we started at least GHRP as a pilot, it was really like, because we really wanted to test out what it was. So we really started with one module. It didn't have the entire module structure. And one of the things, because initially we did the GHRP with full face-to-face, the 4 days was really fully face-to-face. One of the things we realized also, the first day is really spending time, because when they come, we don't know anything what they're bringing, and the proposal is completely new. Some of the proposals were really bad. So we didn't have a clue about who are going to come and how it is going to shape. So when we did this online, we already got when we started this, it's also we get a sense of how the participants are. I mean, even though we do, as I said, one of the challenges in e-learning is to understand what the participants are, but you really get to know a motivation, how they are motivated actually, because on the way of the response and how they are. So when you're trying to do an online thing, you will really get a sense how your participants are. And most of the time when we see they are progressing, we also kind of understand how the face-to-face is going to be, because the engagement will really will be based on how they perform in the, you will see people who are not really, not for internet reasons, but who actually have internet connection and everything and will not progress. You will also see them struggling during the face-to-face session. So from our experience in terms of GHRP, so in terms of student perspective, I think you would have got a sense how usually it is happening, that you get you get to see the orientation week in the beginning. So sometimes we assume that many of the people have experience in online thing, so they really struggle even just to log in and just type in discussion forum and even attempt in the test. So that is the whole idea when we say that we have the orientation week before. So that's the first step. So usually what's the difference is you will have a workshop participant, and that is put in here. And the first step is to get them on board. The first objective of us is to say, are they online? Are they able to log in? Because sometimes they really struggle to even get it online. So if you make sure that they are online, so that's the first step completed to be this one. And the second step usually you do is, you have also gone through the orientation week. Basically, if you're really not familiar, because some of them skip this because they've already done many of the online courses and they are familiar with MCQs, discussion forum, viewing the exercise and things like that. If they are not, I think they use this time to just get a bit oriented to it. And then we open the respective module. So it need not be like that. I was just thinking about it. From our experience, we have found that giving small chunks will help people progress in an effective way. So it also depends upon the target group on how you want to decide upon opening up the entire thing. For example, if they are already familiar with IR concepts, they feel like blocked because you are only opening things on a certain interval of time. But if they are learning, if the concept is very new, the chunks really help in terms of understanding, taking that time for the week, and then moving for the other. So also keeping in mind the way the learning path is set, thinking about the target group becomes very important, and what is the level of the target group there, because if they want to, if the level is low, it's better to do it small. If but the level is high, you give the path a bit open, and then you can bit more moderate and monitor the thing. So one of the, I mean, I remember discussing with Dhoni that, wouldn't it be great that we can put all this theory, so we used to get a lot of feedback saying that, so much theory, so much class, so much information is happening at the same time. So we were thinking, okay, can this be online? So that when they come, they can come with all this theory, and we don't have to deliver it, and when they come here, we can actually engage them into a face-to-face discussion. So that was a vision in terms of putting it together. So some of the deliveries that we can do here, we can do it online, and when they come here, we can focus on the engagement, and this you cannot achieve online. That's a fact. You cannot do the salsa online. I wish we could do it, but or the penguin dance. So idea is, when you are here, we can actually use the time not to deliver that lecture, but to also discuss, engage, challenge each other, because at the end of the day, they learn from each other. More than the I think we use the word facilitator for a reason, right? Because they learn from each other more than we telling what to learn, because it's a team member. So that's why we said, when they come here, the face-to-face, really focus on the thing. So when you put it online, that's one of the challenges. So we need to monitor to make sure that at least they are progressing throughout the course. So you would have seen the front end, but I will just quickly show you the back end of it. So we actually, I'm taking another IR course, for example, because I don't want to take the current course. So this is 1 year before. So, but you actually get to see when they have last logged in. So that's kind of the first step in terms of seeing that when the participants are logged in. So what we usually do is that during the orientation week, we make sure that at least every one of you have logged in. And sometimes if there may be technical problems there, like IT issues or their internet connection or the login is not working and things like that, so we try and correct them during the first week of the thing. And then we move on to the, so usually if you see here, we see when you see the progress bar, so it is not the video that we are assessing. So some people, we have also set it like that. The video is not a mandatory thing, but the exercises are. And you would have seen that you need to get at least 70% to move forward. The idea is, so that is a progress that we can see in the back end, saying that if some people are already familiar, they can just go and attend the exercise and say that, I don't need to even watch the video because you already have that knowledge within you. So in the back end, we can actually see how they are progressing, and some mistakes we did in follow-up also. I note that and see, I don't know what happened. But usually, we try and help them progress, and attempts, usually we don't keep it restricted. But the idea of 3 attempts is to also people don't play around with the system too much that they just randomly try and get it. So it's not about limiting the attempts, it's not about limitation, but to also communicate back to us saying that, hey, can we give more attempts and work it out or things like that. So that's more on the progress of the completion. Then we also get a detailed report within the LMS saying that on the specific activity, but also on what people have been doing. It may look really messy now, but at a unit level, we can export it into an Excel and visualize it much better. So that's quite easy. But I'm just showing you the options available. Okay. Yeah, it's really right. And also, what we also do is to communicate with participants. Sometimes it's too much, but international participants, it becomes complicated. But when we are at a regional level, we really know how the dynamics works. So I'm sure when you are running it in your regional centers, you will know your culture well, which tool works well better. So I've seen in Europe, more emails works much better. In our case, WhatsApp calls works much better than email. But usually the communication becomes very important. I don't know if you have, how many of you have done online MOOC, online courses, that you tend to drop out when, because if you don't see human being at the end of the spectrum, you tend to only see computer screens and you tend to drop out a bit. So if you can able to communicate that and say that, oh, there is somebody at the end actually looking at these things, actually that goes a long way in terms of completion rates or even to motivate participants to complete the course. I think that's, I don't want to go into features and things like that, because when I would rather take some questions and say, what are the other things that you can think of in terms of implementation? I would also want to answer some of the questions which came up, like when we are planning to run it, who will host it, and things like that. So we actually, I mean, I will just put it down. So we thought about a few models, I mean, at least 2 models. One of the things that we were thinking is we have got like a lot of feedback from the session that we did, and we could potentially incorporate some of those exercises and activities together and standardize that. We could potentially give you the link as your platform. I mean, in the sense, one of the courses within your, which you can use, and the same standard courses you can open, so you don't have to develop it and create it again and monitor. The entire system is applicable. Or if you have a platform like Sakai, I understand it's another LMS for itself. It's not just copy paste. It has its own process in terms of the IT thing. So here we could potentially help you with the IT if we are hosting it here. But if you are handing over to another LMS, we could potentially give you the content that can be used as part of the LMS, but we'll not be able to help you migrate it, because migration itself is a different process. But if you want to use this, I think I just discussed with Dhoni, I think we'll be happy to help you in terms of implementing the current version which you, based on your recommendation and suggestions, and standardize that and offer it. And we also explored whether the subtitles, we figure out a system where Google actually has a translator. So we could potentially export it and correct it, and then incorporate it as a Spanish or the other subtitle in the unit. And also the entire LMS can be, the navigation, everything can be changed into the regional language. Something we were exploring also on the way, saying that how can you do the subtitles and things like that. Usually the Google ones are now almost 90 to 95% verbatims, but we may need to change that and say, how can we put subtitles? There may be an easier way of doing it rather than fully, you know, Spanish. And exercises are quite easy to change it, this one. This is how we see it. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to help. Don't you want to add? So basically, it's what they do for their face-to-face session in terms of enrollment, putting out a call, getting the participant list, and who is going to participate, the group, who are all the groups. So they will need to identify till that point, and after that we can create the login and hand it over to them. So they will need to make sure that they have logged in and follow up with the participants and make sure that things are on.
So mainly enrollment and follow-up, that would be 2 main goals.
Require like intense IT capacity or anything, because it's all still hosted
unless
in
they are planning
your
to migrate
platform,
it
and
to their LMS platform, because we can give the face as them. For example, they can put the intro video and put it as their RTCs rather than IPH, and that's not a problem for us. I mean, that was the initial discussion in terms of collaborating, that how can we standardize and give it out to people rather than keeping it. Yeah.
So I have a budget-related question, because I think if you are hosting it, I think that might represent cost for you in terms of people, I don't know, servers, I don't have much idea about it, but it should cost something. And if we think this is something that should be sustainable, so then how have you thought about it? So should we pay a fee to you? Or so how, because then, for example, for making the decisions of who hosts the course, maybe it's good to know, okay, is it going to be cheaper that you host it, or is it even maybe it's an initial investment bigger here? Should we just invest into transferring it to our institution? So I think for sustainability, that is something to be considered.
For developing platform, our RTC has the budget for that, and until 2019. So it's okay. It's just that I don't know whether for the maintenance. I think IPH can mention how big is and how can we, for example, discuss about it or other model that we can go with it.
I don't think that, because if it is, at least we don't buy a new server and then get it into a new portal. The current server, we already run online programs, so the cost may not be on in terms of server that much, but in terms of managing and things like that, there may be. But I can't, I mean, we don't thought about the budget because we didn't come up with a budget model.
But just to give ideas to run those things, is it a big budget or?
It won't.
It's people cost.
It's people cost basically. It's not the, if you are saying IT, there will be an IT person sitting at least half a time or.
And that's not a full-time equivalent.
It's
just a fraction
of. A fraction of the time.
So development costs really are huge.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I mean, if you can just at least show them like, okay, development cost is this huge, and if you were to maintain, you need to have somebody IT, which is like full-time.
Yeah.
Versus just, if I want to run one GHRP course or one IR course, it's only those many person hours that you're going to be charging. So they, I think, hugely different.
Yeah.
Right?
So it really depends upon what we are going to do, because we can do, if you want a costing, we can do it together with UGM. And really depends upon what we want, what we are trying to achieve.
Yes, it's just for if we want to. We need to get the, I'm not saying that we need the answer now, but for our decision makers, it's also, and also for the sustainability of your work, I mean, it's just fair. Mm-hmm.
In relation to that, I don't know what DoD is thinking. So for instance, if we are assuming that 2 RTCs will be interested in running it in a year, can these RTCs coordinate it in such a way that it's easy to have man hours once with IPH so that we coordinate that? And I'm looking at also the possibility of maybe not doing double budgeting with TDR. So one RTC will put it in their budget, another RTC puts it there, and there will be like lots of winding questions surrounding it. So I think we should consider it more as like all the RTCs.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically what we're saying is that we've already put a budget for this with IPH for 2019, and that's enough to cover working with the RTCs here. You don't need to put any additional budget to work with IPH. What you need to cover would just be the offline sessions, right? I mean, that's somebody who is managing that. But otherwise, as far as working with IPH, that's already covered within our budget for 2019. As you know, we only have budget up to 2019, so we don't know anything beyond that. That depends on TDR. But at least for 2019, if any of the RTCs here is interested to work with, it's covered for that part.
Just for the case, in case we host the platform in your institution, who will do the monitoring progress? It's you or us?
Thinking is, I mean, the physical contact point is you guys with the participants, but we could, I mean, it's quite, we can train you. It doesn't take much time to help you with creating a dashboard where you can get all the data and information that you need. I mean,
but essentially focal point would be you, because you know your participants.
Yeah, you know the participants well, but we could potentially create a dashboard that helps you get the information that you want and tune to what you require. It's basically implementing that in Moodle, and you can where you go and click it and figure it out. So that's quite easy to do it.
The facilitation component.
So like I said, in the current way in which we do e-learning, and we have 2 roles. One is this administrator role, who that basically does the enrollment, makes the follow-up phone calls, ensures that they remain motivated, and generates the progress report, looks at the dashboard. The other role is what we call the tutor, and that is mainly the online facilitation, which includes moderating discussions, ensuring exercises are complete. If someone's stuck in the exercise, then making sure it's not a technical problem that they are having, grading the exercises if there are exercises to be graded, yeah, and checking the final assignment is done. So that's more the online facilitation part of the thing, where it's more technical that they have to be. We have delegated it at present to a junior research assistant, so somebody with a master's in public health background with a few years of experience who's able to handle this online facilitation. And then if she has problems and is unable to answer some questions, then she gets in touch with the subject matter experts. So that's how we work there. But I would expect that, yeah, online facilitation also would be best for the local, for you who know the context to do best.
Communicating in Spanish and getting answers in Spanish rather than getting answers in English, right? So.
So basically, if we want to, then let's say implement or transfer, so in terms of deciding whether we are ready or not, I mean, of course, for us, it has to be in Spanish. But for example, considering then we have then to make the budget for the, so the local, it will cover all the face-to-face facilitation, and also it should be all budgeted in the local RTC. And then, if I understood correctly, then you have a budget for development, adjusting what is needed. Until 2000, until December 2019? Okay.
For covering up for the development, I think it still can be covered. I think, for example, from your RTCs, we expect you to check if there's a subtitle, whether, because we mainly rely on Google Translate, whether the translation is correct. So, but that's not big compared if you want to do the subtitle yourself. So just check for those subtitles, and then I think because for the instruction is still standard English, converted to Spanish, it's more easy.
We have it in standard English, but then converted to the languages required.
Yeah.
And give subtitles
For the video.
That's easy to do.
It's easy, so you don't have to budget on that. It's just that you need to check whether, especially the subtitle, is correct or not.
I mean, yes, but normally that's a time-consuming process. So normally we outsource that. Yes, because it takes a lot of detail to see. Yeah, so it's.
Yeah, so just again about the planning, and if we are covered for 2019, more about feasibility and time issues. So with all that is coming, I was asking if it's overwhelming, when exactly do we think it will be done, so that if anybody wants to plan for 2019, when we know it is covered, we can take it into consideration?
I think then to be for a safe time frame, the second half year of those 2019 is more feasible for us. And then in between, we can have preparation for that, just to make sure that everything is ready. But then, because then we need to have the same online phase. The offline, you can be a bit variable. I mean, some of you might have directly after online, but some of you might have a gap in between. But I think the best way to make it the same time for online phase. And I don't know whether we want to test one course first, or we want to test both courses at a somewhat similar time frame. Yeah. Yes.
And also, we all know that for the RTCs, the planning for 2019 is done. So even if it's covered, if we want to do anything, it's going to be pro bono, maybe for our own experiences, you want to do it, but you cannot actually cover it with any budget item.
True. I imagine that it can be from within your institution as a pilot, just to test how it works, right? So it's also not cost you a lot of money, but then you have the feeling, the confidence, whether you can do it next year or not. It's something that we can, so, yeah.
I really think even when we started, there was this fear, and only when we did it, and then we are more confident in terms of, okay, you can deliver it, okay, deliver the other content. So we actually started with the module and then expanded to the...
And also the idea of running it within your own institutes. So we do that for our courses also. So for example, we're doing one on research methodology development. So we run it first in-house. So we do it on our own research associate. It builds capacity. It's an internal building capacity mechanism, as well as it's a pilot.
Just one question. Do you charge students or participants for this kind of training? I mean, you ask. Yes.
No, the ones that we've done with the UGM usually have the scholarship that covers it. So we haven't, for all our online courses, they're all charged.
Yeah?
Yeah. For the scientific writing course, for example, or a health financing course, they're all charged. We do offer scholarships because it's an institutional mandate to do capacity building. So we try to source money to be able to offer scholarships, but there is a charge. For those who can pay, there is a charge.
So we really look at the scholarship. Sorry?
How much is the cost? So the scientific writing is 10,000.
It's some $250, $150.
Scientific writing course is $150.
Research methodology is a little bit more expensive because it's more intense, but yeah. So it's all costed. Depending on how much facilitator's time is there and things like that, the cost varies.
Basically, the costing is basically on the facilitation and the time of the people who are, and we also try and, as much as possible, for example, we get scholarship in terms of server management. We cannot run the cost for $150 if we are not able to find scholarships and kind of finding fundings for other things like server and other.
So it's a very low cost.
It's a really.
Yeah, we try to manage with what we have.
Yeah, and also one of the things that we found is when people don't, it's not about the amount also. If you give it for free, the completion rate really drops. You can try it out, actually.
But it also depends on the recognition of the certificate. From my experience, I think that if it's recognized by the institution or the work, they will do, but if not, they will, because now we can find like Harvard EDX or something for $50. Why choose this and not this not? So what is it for you?
Yeah, for us, IPH has that name within our local region. So people look for courses, they consider them to be of good quality. So we're already building on that credibility. We also have university affiliation, so some people who look for that may do it for the sake of a certified. Yeah.
And also on the content that it's
The
not
quality
available on
definitely
the outside market.
That brings to mind a very key aspect of the certification processes for us. So for instance, if it's the MOOC, the local institution that is running it also has their logo and signature somewhere in there, together with TDR. I don't know how we are thinking about this, eventually how the certification will go, what logos will be there, what signatures will be there.
I don't see why it should be any different. It's more or less a similar system where there's a standardized, centralized component, but there's also a local component, so it's a joint certificate between you. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, so which institutions will be on there in addition to the local?
You have TDR logo, and then you have, the local institutions. So that will be on the certificate. But that's something that we have to discuss also with TDR, because this is something which we have not done yet. Yeah? So we'll take it up with TDR. But for us, well, it should not be any different with the MOOC.
one common 2019, they still haven't decided whether it's GHRP or IR. So some individuals participating from several RTCs. We're hoping, yeah? Looks like it. Yeah, good.
It needs a lot of deep thinking and those kind of things. So. We discussed about way forward, but I don't know whether we want to have more like a, you still need to go back and think through before we can communicate whether what will be the work plan if that's possible and everything. But just to keep the communication between among us, Gurjit, how do you think best way to keep the communication between us, whether we set up forums, WhatsApp group, or I don't know, you're the expert of.
I mean, the easiest thing is to create an email group. I know people are paranoid about WhatsApp group nowadays because of the good morning and good evening messages. But if you are interested, I would be happy to, I mean, we'll be happy to create it, a WhatsApp group where it's possible. I can send you the invitation, and who wants can join the group. We usually
see how many are WhatsApp. WhatsApp is better for.
what I will do, because many people feel, oh, WhatsApp is again too much of.
I was going to ask what would be the purpose?
No,
group?
No, just we still have in situation that we haven't decided what will be the way forward, but we still, I think we need to keep the communication among us. So what will be the best way to communicate, whether then you decide I want to move forward or other things, but what the best way to communicate?
Sometimes many individuals may have the same questions, and then they will end up responding to each of them. But if there's a group, it's like one question asked and everybody gets the answer, so like you kind of get more clarity, right? So you go back and you discuss and you have some questions. The same questions will be there in others' minds as well. But this one email group then allows everybody to have information at the same level. And that will help you in your decision making as well. So it's good. Email looks like, I think, with different time zones as well, this WhatsApp is sometimes a nuisance. So maybe email.
I wonder if it would be good maybe if we decide some timelines so we can prepare ourselves.
Can we? So.
Levels of next steps. Next steps in terms of us having to incorporate the feedback and modify and get them. So by what phase in time will the materials be up and ready for the kind of blended learning? And the other one is the timelines from their end, how long they need in terms of decision making.
From our side, we will be, what is also the translation. That's also another way to, also, if not, that if you do it in your institution, for example, and then ask some like a participatory validation of the subtitles, then it's also make your life easier.
And after this, we still hope that you make the time to complete the evaluations. But much have been said already through the course, through the discussions. But perhaps there are still a few things that you want to say through the forums. But this also gives you a chance, last chance to share anything, express anything. It doesn't have to be substantial, significant, but just to reflect on, and anything you want to say before we close. You can just say goodbye, see you. You can just say whatever you like just before we part and close, okay? So I'm just going to pass on the mic, and then, yeah, from the participant.
Yes.
Feel free to say anything. You also don't have to say anything if you don't wish to, so don't feel obliged.
First of all, thank you so much for the chance for joining this course. I have so much fun and learn a lot from other senior researcher. Maybe we will take all the advice and consider it again for our next study. Thank you so much. Please keep in contact.
Nice to know like different background of person from another country. Also nice experience for me. Please go back again to Indonesia.
Yes, needless to say, we've learned so much, and it makes us more excited to get on our IRs. And you really shed light. So I thought it felt good that we learned, and then it also felt so good that we were able to contribute to the development of this course. And yeah, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to be a part of this.
First, we would like to say thank you for all the facilitators for their patience in teaching us this implementation research. And we want not just to keep the knowledge that we have learned here, but also to transfer this knowledge to our institute, for others to learn also, and for others to write their own implementation research, to provide a better health opportunities for other people in our country. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. Actually, I felt bad that I wasn't able to get to speak with everyone here, but I hope I could get in touch with you through emails probably, so that you could probably tap you to become one of our experts in rolling out some of the courses in RTC Philippines. And actually, it is a good news for us that the RTC Indonesia would be rolling out this blended learning program, because actually during the planning at RTC Philippines before, we have agreed that IR would no longer be rolled out for the meantime, since there is a limited expertise. But given this opportunity, I think this would be a great deal for RTC.
Thank you. So it's been a great experience. I came to Yogyakarta 2 years ago for the course itself. I didn't think I would come back, but it was nice to come back again. It's always nice to meet new people and be able to engage with you, make new friends. The journey with UGM has been great so far, and yeah, it's been a huge learning experience. Thanks.
Yeah, I think when we started, it was just a talk, and it's so happy that it's really happening in terms of pilot. So that's really a great, happy feeling. When we started the online, I was also skeptical because there was not much progress, but I think you guys were awesome, because towards the end of it, everybody finished it. I mean, you usually like, oh, the progress is not well, but I could see people putting efforts even during the Saturday, Sunday, during your traveling, because 17th, 18th, I can see. But by the end, when you are here, everything was green. I was like, wow.
On the plane.
Just the day before I was telling Yodi, oh, IR not much has progressed. Then I go back to the room and check, and then many of them have progressed. I'm like, Yodi, sorry, I think the report was a bit 1 hour late. So I sent the recent report which says, so it was really great to see the engagement from facilitators from your side, that everybody is so enthusiastic to learn and also to do it. And I also want to thank, usually I will be in the back end, I like sitting there. I mean, it's great to see, I mean, so I was more in the front. It really takes a lot of effort for the face-to-face session to be smooth, all the mics to be working, and thanks a lot. I think Vinny and the team did a great job in terms of making it really smooth. So I just want to thank them for this. Yeah.
All right, first and foremost, I would say a big thank you to the team that put this together and for inviting us. It's been a wonderful experience meeting everybody, all the people from different RCTs. And I've really appreciated the work of the efforts of the facilitators, especially in terms of the comment, the feedback, and all that. That has been wonderful. Last but not the least, it was great going to see the ballet concert on Saturday. Great, although I was feeling sleepy, but it was nice. Yes. And lastly, great to be in Indonesia, in Yogyakarta. Thank you.
Just to also add that for the RTCs, I think this year we've not had the opportunity to meet like we usually would. I think that this is good for us. Always coming back to the table to just think through what we are doing and the essence for the bigger picture, especially in IR. I kept mentioning that for those of us leading IR, because it's a field that is evolving, there is so much that we can contribute at this level as we try to shape capacities and allow people to think through it. So thank you, UGM, for doing this. I think it's very helpful. And the next meeting that we have with all the RTCs, I hope that we can have something to share, that everybody will be glad that we've made this move. Thank you.
I would like to also thank RTC to Indonesia, IPH, for both the online and the face-to-face. It was very, very beneficial for us. It's also a pleasure to meet all the people from the other RTCs, and really looking forward to other occasions and to having you in Tunisia.
Really, and I'm very happy to meet RTC's member. It's the first event to meet each one, and I want to acknowledge the logistic committee and the organizers, all the efforts from facilitators. Thank you for everything, and maybe in Tunisia, nice to meet you in Tunisia, and you are welcome.
First of all, I would like to thank all your contributions and all interactions between us as the facilitators as well as the participants of this course. I really enjoyed that. I hope you also enjoy the dynamic discussions, presentations, as well as the social activities. I heard you enjoyed the shopping yesterday. As I really enjoy for the learn of salsa dance today, and maybe I hope that once I could also learn maybe flamenco. Okay, so that's a great things, and please contact us if you feel that you need more discussion about the planning for the course.
Well, thank you all. I think it has been a very, very nice experience. And also thank you for inviting us. My second time in Indonesia. And it has been a very good experience. I really enjoyed the exercises. I think, especially for the IR part, it helped to put my mind into what it really means to do a project in that. So thank you very much. Thanks also for the logistics, for our flights. It was quite a challenge, and it was very nice that we could make it. So thanks a lot also for the patience with us organizing. So thanks a lot.
Well, I have to say that I want to congratulate the organizers because you did an amazing job. I mean, since the beginning with the online course, the follow-up, it feels since the beginning like I was really part of a team. So I really feel that. And here also, because, you know, I see how you take very serious all our comments and you really want us to help you to build something that is useful for everybody. So it is easy to feel, so thank you. Thanks for inviting us and for the facilitators. You did an amazing job. The feedback, oh my goodness, I was saying, oh, I want to have the recordings because there are some, you know, because of the language barriers, sometimes I cannot get everything I wanted to. I don't want to miss any single idea, so yeah, you did great, and I really feel very happy to be part of this. One of the things that I really enjoy in this kind of activities is that we get to share not only our experiences and knowledge, but also, you know, our culture, and to build new friends and the food. So really, thank you. I feel part of a team, and I hope we get connected.
So thank you, Yodi and UGMRTC for inviting me. And thanks to all the participants. I think the success of this course depends completely on your participation. And thanks for being part of this implementation research, and we enrolled you as participants without even you guys knowing you are like participants with no informed consent, nothing. But that's exactly what it was. And if this course is successful and we can move forward, it's thanks to all the contributions from you. So for me, it's nice meeting. I think I know I work with a number of RTCs, so I know a lot of people, but also some newcomers this time. And this team from Indonesia is like, I think we need to give them a big hand. Like, you know, they came on the previous night for welcome dinner with the idea of just being observers, just to piggyback on one of your teams. And I told them there's no point doing that, you're not going to learn. Why don't you just come with an idea? The next morning they have their slide sets ready, and then you could see the immense progress that they could make in 4 days' time. So rather than being observers, they also turned to be participants, and I'm sure they learned a lot. Give them a big hand. Yeah. So, and a very big thanks to the team sitting behind. I always finish my course, and I tell all my course participants, this success, we owe it to them. We just stand like heroes and heroines right there, but then the whole thing is organized by them. So I think it's worthwhile giving them one big hand. Immense patience, and we think we always give them the agenda that morning. We give our presentations last minute, but still they handle it really so well. Yeah, thanks, and it was wonderful the last 4 days. Yes.
Me first. Okay. First of all, I would like to apologize for you to make you into difficult time of the years. I've been keeping changing for some times, and also thank you for your patience, and also this is like an implied consent, right? So you don't have to be very nervous about that. So thank you, it's been a pleasure to have you here, I think, and also to help us, to assist us to shape and develop this blended learning further. I think, as Diljit mentioned, the idea has been there since 2-3 years ago, but then we really shape it very slowly. But I think this will help us to really shape the course to be ready, and I think we see that the market is there, and also the future of the learning is there, so why not we start from this thing. So thank you for coming to Indonesia. I hope you enjoy what we provide you here, and hope that we still can have collaboration ahead. Thank you very much.
I got this one. Okay, so much have been said. Just to highlight a couple of things that when the idea for us to organize this workshop again is not to put pressure that all of you has to do blended learning within 2019. Okay, so it's just the idea is okay. We developed this IPH and we just want to share with all of you, with all of the RTCs. If you think it's relevant, if you think it's useful, if you think it's feasible, then you are more than welcome to join and just tag along and utilize what has been developed and now been developed together with you. So it's more of that, and also because we think it's good for the artists to have common projects together like this, because otherwise we just do our own things and meet once a year in Geneva, which doesn't even happen this year because they don't have budget. So we use our budget to bring all of you together here, because as all family, you have to meet frequently, once in a while. Those who eat together sticks together, they said. So we eat a lot together now. We eat a lot of lunch together. So hopefully we stick together also. That's a very basic idea. So just to have something for us to work together and to become closer as a family. And we see this as something which can be used for that. But again, no pressure. Don't feel obliged that, oh, we have to do this, and because this is not instruction for TDR. It's just our initiative just to share, and if any of you feels it's useful, relevant, then feel free to use it, okay? So having said that, thank you for working with us to actually improve what has been developed. Now we have so much inputs on how this could be better, and we're very much confident it will be better in a few months, and it's really ready to be shared with you again. So that's something that we're very much looking forward to. And of course, we're also looking forward for the next family reunion. I don't know when, but it's open for anybody who wants to have an invitation. I think many people didn't finish learning salsa, so if you go to that was too short, and you cannot do it in blended, say Diljit, so we have to do it live. So we're all looking forward for invitation for any of you, so that we can come together again as a RTC like this, and so we look forward to that. Just one final technical note. After this, we have certificates also ready for you. The only obligation is to give an evaluation form. So you exchange your evaluation form with the certificates, then we're good to go, okay? That's pretty much that we want to say. So let's give big applause for everybody. Thank you, and have a safe and pleasant trip home, and see you soon. Thank you.